Now live from inside the Ocean Casino Resort Studio, here's Mike Gill.
I understand that the analytics on this thing are simple. If it's 85% or whatever I heard, you'll always have an argument to say, hey, we take that chance. But I think in the 15% chance you don't get it in that situation, there's a chance your house burns down. You know, do you really think you're going to need these points? If you do, you're going to have egg on your face. If you don't get this thing, nobody's going to notice if you just kick the damn ball. I hate to sound this way, but sometimes self-preservation is the best thing as a coach.
Chris Long on the analytics and the way the Eagles handled them on Sunday and generally all the time. Casey Joyner, the football scientist from The Athletic, joins us now. I want to get his take on the way the Eagles managed that game on Sunday. The way they manage a lot of games, Casey Joyner. They are a very analytics-based team, and people are going nuts about the way they managed that game on Sunday. Take the points, everybody said. And then after the game, they said, we will not apologize for the way we managed that game, especially Nick Sirianni. What is your take on the way they went for 3 times? All 3 times the ball got moved up to the 1-yard line, which is generally an automatic go for 2 in today's NFL. 4th down and 3 at the Jacksonville 22 on early in the game. Instead of a 40-yard field goal, they went for it. There was another moment later in the game where they went for it on 4th and inches. They did not get it again. And then finally, late in the game, instead of punting it, they decided to kick a 58-yard field goal. So a lot of weird decisions in the game. As a guy who's somewhat analytical, Casey Joyner, what is your thought on the way that Nick Sirianni, and really I wonder if this is a organizational philosophy more than just Nick Sirianni here?
I think back to a thing, Bill James, the godfather of all this stuff, he wrote one of his baseball abstracts back in the day about Amos Otis was his favorite player. And he talked about a time when Amos, I think it was a left fielder for him, left or center fielder. And he went to go, a ball came to him, and he could have dove to make the play and maybe have made the play, but if he hadn't made it, it would have been like a double, and a couple runs would have come in. But he shorthanded it, and he kept it up to a single. And the other team only scored 1 run, but the fans were booing him for not going all out, making this full-out effort. He said, but Otis ended up hitting it, get a couple of hits and all that, had a really good game at the plate. And that defensive play, keeping the other team from having a big inning, ended up winning the game. So the fans are mad at Otis for not trying to make the big splashy play, but he played the percentages. The Eagles keep trying to think they're playing the percentages, but they're going with, okay, we've got to make all the, we've got to do, okay, go for it on 4th down, all these aggressive things. And sometimes it does pay to do like Amos Otis did. Let that single, let him get the single and all that. Well, go ahead and kick the field goal, take the points. There are times when you could put the other team in a situation, especially the way the game was playing out after a time. The Eagles got the big lead. Hey, you need to be able to finish games out and do it in a high percentage way, not by just being overly aggressive. Once you get to 17, you go on and take that hit again.
Is that who they are? Is that what the organization wants, in other words? I mean, do we think this is Nick Sirianni? Because a lot of people are talking about Nick essentially saying he's reckless. He's going to cost them a game. Is it Nick, or is this what the organization wants? In other words, if he isn't aggressive and he doesn't go for it, are they going to say, hey, go off the chart, man? What are you doing?
I think let's put it this way. Go back to, I use another analogy. Go back to the Giants under Parcells and Belichick. Belichick has said that Parcells was the best coach he's ever seen, best coach he's ever been around it, and one he learned from about what do we need to do to win this particular game. How do we go about not only before the game and setting up your game plan, but during the game? What adjustments do we make to say, how do we keep this game flow going in our direction? What do we need to do these things? And I think the Eagles have an overarching approach of, hey, we've got to make sure we maximize the value of every drive all the time. And I just keep thinking, that's a one-size-fits-all solution. And I think it is an organization, and the organization wants to be like that. They're heavy on analytics. We've seen all the reports and such. That's what they are. And I think they are the let's be aggressive all the time. And again, sometimes you got to not be aggressive. Sometimes you got to just take that single and go with that. But that's what the organization is. And you can't blame Sirianni because if he goes against the grain, he might not be the coach.
Right, exactly. And I say, you could be mad at Sirianni in some aspects that his mindset aligns with the organization. That's why he has the job. They say, hey, 4th and 3. What do you want to do? And he says, let's be aggressive. Let's go for it. All right, you're hired. If he says, we got to kick the field goal there, they might say, nah, that's not the head coach for us.
And I wonder, it's like, do you want the analytics people making your game lines? I mean, the analytics people have a place. There's things they can help you do, and they're getting better at it. But do you want them making all the calls? And there's a whole thing. I'm one of those guys. I'm a bit of a contrarian in the analytics community because there's a whole big idea: pass, pass, pass. You got to pass, pass, pass. I think there are a lot of analytics people who realize that you need to run, run, run. And the reason you run instead of pass because passing is more volatile and you're adding volatility to the mix. And if you run, you're eliminating volatility from the mix if you do it well. And I think it's one of those things where I'll put it this way, though. The Eagles, it permeates to the whole team because look at Barkley doing that one spin, the backward spin to go get the yardage and things. When he had the fumble, he's trying to, it fell to the ground. He's trying to crawl forward for yards. Like, guys, sometimes, if it's just a gain, go and try and get a gain. Because if Barkley tries that spinning stuff, somebody's going to knock that ball out. He did fumble the ball on the mobile. It's like, guys, sometimes you just got to take a play that you've gotten a 6-yard gain as a 6-yard gain and don't try and make it into more. Sometimes a drive is a field goal drive. And again, the Jaguars, the way they played, if you don't give them the fumble recovery, you don't give them the scoop and score and all that, and they get that late touchdown when you're playing prevent defense, they can't tackle worth a darn. After that, you pretty much dominated them, and yet you let them stay in the game because you were taking aggressive chances that didn't go your way. Because again, if you're at 17 and you hit, you get 10, guess what? You lost that hand, and that's what they're doing. They're losing these opportunities to turn, they're turning what they're hoping is 7 points, not even into 3 points, turning into 0, and that makes a big difference.
Casey Joyner from The Athletic here. By the way, he's brought to you by Cooper University Healthcare. They're doing something special, extraordinary for families down the shore. The Eagles, Casey, are giving up the fewest points in the NFL during a 4-game win streak, 11 points a game. They have the most sacks. So, we buying into their defense, or is it based on the opponents that they've played?
They're doing what you should do. Again, just what we talked about with the idea of you let an opponent come back that you shouldn't have. And again, the scoop and score, that's not it's points on the board, but it's not a defensive touchdown. You're not allowing points there. If you take that out, the numbers are getting better. They're shutting down the run. They're getting turnovers. I mean, look at it. I mean, they did it against Cleveland's not very good. They get it against the Giants, who are not look. They held them to 3 points. I mean, the Giants are not the greatest offense, but if you hold any team to 3 points, you're doing pretty good. The Bengals showed yesterday. I mean, heck, they threw 5 touchdown passes on Sunday. And you held to 17 points, so they're doing it against some good offenses. I mean, we'll see what happens if they go up against Washington and the Rams. If they're fully loaded team of the Ravens, that might be a different story against those teams. But hey, right now they're doing what they should be able to do talent-wise against teams given the relative talent levels.
Well, they're the only team in the entire league that is in the top 6 in both offense and defense. So, are we starting to see Kellen Moore's offense click a little here?
We are, and it's the very consistent running. I love seeing 269 yards 3 weeks ago, $161 against the Bengals, 237. You got 3 other games of 140 or more. So I said, but early when he came in the game in there, joined the team, it was, hey, Kellen Moore, okay. McCarthy said he throws the ball too much. Well, McCarthy, the Eagles got him to run the ball a lot, and I think you could have too. It's great what he's got with what he's got. I still want to see. I think they're still trying to find some of who they are and what they want to do because they had got some vertical passes going in that game, but I still think they could have done even more against the Jaguars. And again, I still got we talked about this before about Sirianni's teams that when they got late in the game, they don't have that. Jimmy Johnson used to say he wanted to put up 80 on teams and things. He didn't want his team to ever let up. Sprint to the finish. If we want to use the line that's going on today in politics, just sprint to the finish. The Eagles didn't do that. And again, that fourth quarter tackling, if I'm the Eagles, you got to nip that in the bud because you got ahead and then your defense just act like it was touch football out there. You can't do that.
Well, they'll move on to Dallas. We'll talk more about that for One Thought every game on Thursday's edition with Casey Joyner from The Athletic here. But Week 9 in the books last night. So let's get One Thought every game on the Week 9 matchups. Let's go to last night's game, Tampa, Kansas City, analytics. Do you go for it there at the end of that game if you're Tampa Bay, or do you rather go to overtime?
If you have a good 2-point play, you should. That's the thing. They talk. I remember the Super Bowl where Belichick, they had the one comeback Super Bowl, and the coach was like, he said we should have a couple of 2-point plays, like 2 or 3 2-point plays instead of just what we normally have. And it was a brilliant move in this part. It's like, that's not brilliant. That's just good preparation. I wonder if the Bucs had it. I wonder if Bucs like, hey, do we have, you'd hope they would because they didn't seem to have used one earlier. So it's like, if you've got a good 2-point play, yeah, go for it because you're on the road, Kansas City. You're going to hope your defense goes. Your terrible defense is going to stop the Chiefs if you lose the coin toss. Yeah, absolutely, I'd go for it. It's a bad call on their part.
All right, One Thought every game. By the way, Kansas City gets to 8-0. All right, let's go. One Thought every game. Back to Thursday. Houston beats New York. Houston looks like a mess all of a sudden. The Jets kind of saved their season.
The Jets kept their season going in Houston. Houston's banged up. Houston's a very banged up team. They're banged up, and Stroud is kind of banged up, and the receiving corps is banged up with things. So they get this 10-day rest that they get is a perfect time for them. But it showed. I mean, this is one of those games where, a banged up team goes on the road to face a talented team that's fighting for its season. That's exactly what happened as the Jet top played them.
One thought, every game, Sunday slate, Dallas is just a disaster right now. Atlanta beats them 27-21. No Dak. They're going to go to Cooper Rush here. But, man, the Cowboys are a mess. They might get some if Parsons comes back, but this team looks like they're busted at the seams.
They are, and Parsons, he's hit or miss. I mean, he can make some plays, but he'll also give the other team some plays, too, because he's too aggressive. Rush, I mean, look at Lamb. 8 catches for 47 yards. That's what you're getting out of Lamb. And Ferguson's your top receiver right now. I mean, you got Turpin and Brooks and Tolbert, your other receivers. I mean, Dowdle's not that good. They're just not that talented. And again, on defense, they're a very, very undisciplined team, and that's why Kirk Cousins throws for 3 touchdowns and no picks.
One thought, every game, Buffalo holds off Miami here. The game's in Buffalo. Miami goes on the road. They fight, but they fall again in Buffalo, pulling away in the AFC East.
They are, and Josh Allen right now, he's tied for the lead in NFL MVP odds, and I think a lot of it is that you see what he's got. We just talked about the Cowboys, and you go, okay, well, who does Allen have a receiver? Khalil Shakir, Mac Hollins, Keon Coleman. I mean, these are not solid players, but Dalton Kincaid. I mean, these are not great receivers, and he's still throwing for 235 and 3 touchdowns. And their defense is playing really well right now. Give the Dolphins credit. I wrote about the Dolphins real quick in my Monday article with The Athletic about how Tua there's no verticality in their game. Even when teams are playing too high defenses, they're not going to be able to go deep. Even though he'll run deep, they're not going deep. I don't know if he's just not throwing deep passes or if they're being able to be covered or something of that nature. But until the Dolphins get the vertical game going, this is what they're going to be.
One thought every game, Vegas, they fire some coaches. Cincinnati, they make a trade today to get a running back. They get 41 points. Feels like Cincinnati, feels like they're in this. Feels like Vegas is on to 2025.
Vegas is on to 20. And mind you, they're in a bad situation too. I mean, you're playing Ritter and all that. That's not good. But the Bengals, I love Burrow on the sidelines. He looks so mad, and my son's a Bengals fan. So we're like, what's Joe mad about? And then you find out after the game, he's like, I'm not happy with just this one win. We got to keep this thing going. We got to turn the season around. I think that fires up the organization. That's what the organization's like, hey, we got a chance. We think we could beat Baltimore. We can get back in this race. We're close to the playoff hunt, and you keep aggressive. It sends a great message to your team if your quarterback does that. So I think Joe Burrow might be turning the season around for him.
All right, one thought every game. The Chargers with an offensive day. This is a defense that's given up 101 points, but the offense came to play, and Cleveland came back down to earth with Jameis Winston. Hey, it was the old Jameis. He threw a bunch of picks.
Yeah, threw a bunch of picks. Trying to get, hey, you know what? We've got, 8 games left. He might get to 30 yet. I mean, he can get there. He did it before. You never know. They've got talent. But look, the thing is, that game says more about the Chargers. Just a really good defense. I mean, they're exceptional defense. They're maybe top 5 defense right now. They dictate the terms, and that allows them to get away with. Their offense is improving, but their offense is not what Harbaugh wants out of his offense. When you're playing defense this good, you don't have to be that way. So the Chargers, I don't think they're a Super Bowl contender, but you wouldn't want to see them in the first round of the playoffs.
Yeah, they got a really good defense. One thought every game. Let's go to New England. Tennessee holds them off. New England and Tennessee, both these teams kind of going nowhere. But what do we learn here?
We learned that, I like what I'm seeing more out of Tennessee. They've got talent issues and such, but they also have a really favorable schedule. When Nick Westbrook-Ikine catching a touchdown there, UCF guy, he's got if you're fantasy football, think of picking him up in deeper leagues. So what he did here is something he's going to keep doing. But I like the Titans' moxie and effort and say, hey, we're going to keep going after this. And the Patriots, you saw some of the effort there, but I'm just wondering if this season might be close to falling apart for them.
Yeah, both these teams are just about, I would think they're both done here. Tennessee wins 20-17 in overtime, by the way. Washington wins again, 27-22. They beat the Giants. We feel like Washington's for real. We feel like the Giants are looking at 2025.
Yeah, they traded for a cornerback. It's going to really get their secondary set the correct way because now they can move Seymour still to the inside, and it's going to be a big plus for them. Daniels, still, excuse me, he's got the rib injury. Okay, maybe he's not at 100%, but maybe it's on the injury report and things. But he's not played quite as well since he got that injury. He still throws for 209, 2 touchdowns, still rushes for 35 yards. I mean, it's still a solid performance. mean, that defense is playing really, really well. Again, they allowed a touchdown late, and they they're doing better on defense than people think, because Daniels is getting all the attention. And again, with that trade that they just made, this is the team. I think Washington's thinking we can outside shot make it a Super Bowl, and I think they're right.
Yeah, I mean, they're going to pile up a bunch of wins if you look at their schedule. All right, one thought every game. New Orleans, they fire the coach after losing to Carolina, who gets the win. Bryce Young, they win 23-22. Bryce Young got to take a knee for the first time ever.
He did, and he didn't get traded today, so that, I guess that's a plus for him. It should, maybe he just needed to get benched to change the perception and things that he's got to step up and such. It's possible that was just the best thing that happened to him. It happened to John Elway back in the day, so it's not unheard of and things. But the Saints, and now there are all those things about Carr and all these different things. And okay, then you lose to Carolina, and they've got a tough schedule of things. I mean, they're going to make all their coaching changes. That's just. It's a disaster. Look how good they played out of the first 2 games of the year, and you thought, hey, this team's got playoff potential right now. Right now, they're playing like they want the number 1 pick.
One thought, every game, Casey Joyner from The Athletic. Let's go to Denver, Baltimore. Well, we wanted to see if Denver could stack up here. Well, they got blasted. Baltimore 41-10, and Baltimore makes a trade today to add Tre'Davious White.
They do, and that's big because their secondary is they've had some really subpar metrics. I thought, yeah. They're not good. You look at their metrics, like, wow, how are you guys winning with these kind of metrics? I mean, like a lot of subpar. So they might be, and again, it might be like the other situation just talking about, where you get one player, you can shift players into where they need to be and such, and get some depth and things. They need to get Hamilton back to strong safety and play a lot of slot and things. And he didn't have to play to this week, but that's a big part of it for him too. Hey, look, they're fantastic offense, best offense in the league, and do what they did against Denver. Denver has been playing solidly on offense, not great offense, but solidly, and only give up 10 points to them. It says something. And I'll tell you, it was 17-10 late in the second quarter, and then there you go, run off 24 straight points. I mean, the Eagles need to look at the Eagles can't be the Ravens and go, hey, we can do that. It's like, yeah, keep going to the fourth quarter, you will.
One thought every game. This game was a mess for Chicago. The quarterback ends up getting hurt late. Arizona, first place, 29-9 in this one.
I know Eagles fans hear this, but hey, they're well coached. It's a really good. They play hard. They have some talent. They're well coached. By the way, the Harrison, I wrote about him in that article for The Athletic this week too. Harrison's doing abysmal vertical passes. Kyler Murray, if you take out his couple of good games, his vertical pass numbers are just as bad as they were in past years, which is to say worst in the league or near worst in the league. So they have any vertical passing, and still they can run the ball well. They play good defense. They're going to play 4 quarters. You don't see that team let up off the gas, and it says something. I mean, it's a really good thing. Arizona's getting the most out of that talent in Chicago. Now they're not, and if their quarterback's banged up, that's going to make things worse.
One thought, every game, Casey Joyner from The Athletic. Let's go to the game of the day. What happened to Green Bay? It's raining, it's messy. That's the game for them. Detroit, no problem, 24-14.
Detroit could be a team. If you look at their offense, you go St. Brown, Laporta. I mean, they've got they've got some really good targets in their passing game and such. And you think, okay, hey, this is a team that could be all vertical passing. That's what we're going to do. I think that Dan Campbell understands that, you know what? Even though 3 of our teams in this division are indoor teams, we're going to have to go to Lambeau and win at some point. There are other places in the NFC. We're going to have to go on the road to play outdoors and win. We may have to do that. He built a team that can play indoors and outdoors. We can run the ball. We can grind the ball out. And they did. And the thing is, they won the turnover battle against Green Bay, and Green Bay is a team that lives off turnover. So they were able to play percentage football and run the football and play in the outdoors. I mean, it shows that Detroit is a team that can win in any situation. I would argue, even though Kansas City's got the better record, Detroit's the best team in the league right now.
One thought every game. Let's go to L.A., Seattle. Interesting one here. L.A.'s still in this thing. They traded Tre'Davious White, but they win 26-20. What's the story with the Rams? They get a nice road win, and yet they're trading off secondary pieces.
I think they realize they're going to, you got to, I don't know the Whites. I think they've got enough people in their secondary. I think they have enough depth in their secondary to be able to absorb the loss. Think about it, though. Cup, 11 for 104. That's good. They get Robinson coming. Yeah, when Atwell gets thrown out, 6 for 94 and 2 touchdowns. I actually had him in a deep fantasy league. I was so happy to see that. But you lose Atwell, you can still do this. You got Williams only rushing for 69 yards. You're still putting 26 points up at Seattle. I mean, this is a really good offense. I think Los Angeles knows they're going to have to win by shootout, and they can do it because they've got the weapons to do it. The big thing is Geno Smith. 3 interceptions. I mean, you can't have that many turnovers. Their ground game's not very good. I mean, you just can't be making the mistakes that they're making. And Seattle still hasn't been able to be the team that Mike McDonald wants them to be. And until they are, this kind of underperformance is what they're going to get.
One thought every game, Indianapolis, Minnesota. We thought the change of Flacco might help them out, but boy, that looked like a disaster on Sunday night. Minnesota finally gets back in the win column.
Flacco looks like he's a starter or a relief pitcher who, if you put him in a starting pitcher, well, it just doesn't fit. I mean, to use a baseball analogy, it just doesn't, when other teams can prep for him. Vikings still have a really good defense. Flores is getting back to him early in the year. Purdy went up to him in that set after his, man, that was an incredible game plan or something like that, told him what a great game plan it was. And he was doing that to a bunch of quarterbacks. That's what they're getting back to. It looks like they're getting back to the kind of game plan that just shuts people down. And Flacco's the kind of quarterback I think you can shut down. But look at Jonathan Taylor, 13 rushes for 48 yards. If you're the Colts, you can't get more out of Taylor than that. And I know that, again, the Vikings, good defense and all, and the game flow never got away, and you still can't get it going. If that's the case, you can't get things going. So the Vikings defense is every bit as strong as their offense. And again, they're a team, they're not done yet. People kind of are like thinking past them, like third best team in the NFC North. Yeah, but you know what? That could be a divisional round team in the NFC.
All right, one thought every game's back on Thursday. By the way, Pittsburgh and San Francisco, they had the byes this week. We'll get you ready for the Thursday night game. Big one, Cincinnati, Baltimore. We'll take a look at that one and all the Week 10 matchups, including Philadelphia and Dallas. That's right here. One thought every game with Casey Joyner from The Athletic on the Sports Bash Live on 97.3 ESPN. Casey, we'll see you Thursday, man.
Thanks, man. I appreciate it.
All right, he's back Thursday. And don't forget, you can check him out every Tuesday and Thursday here with One Thought Every Game. It's brought to you by Cooper University Hospital. They're doing something extraordinary for families down the shore. I'm Mike Gill. This is the Sports Bash